Hey AJ, good to see you, mate.
Hey Jace, good to see you.
Thanks for joining us. Everyone, this is AJ Prakash, co-founder or founder of EntryLevel. Thanks for joining us. I've known AJ for a little while now. I was fortunate enough to be part of the StartMate Accelerator cohort at the beginning of 2021, together with AJ, who was absolute garden of the program. I really enjoyed getting to do that with you, man. Good to see you again.
Yeah, very good to see you. Very good to chat.
So yeah, we've had about 18 months since start, mate. Tell us how things are going at entry level.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think since StartMate, we raised another round. We have hired quite a few people. I think during StartMate, we maybe had 3 people on the team, and now we have 12, I think. We just onboarded another person this week, and we're still hiring more people. So, that's good. And yeah, we've just been scaling since I guess January when we first started monetizing, I guess December, January period, and now we've just been scaling the revenue and scaling the business and can't complain. Yeah, obviously there's challenges as being a founder and there's different roadblocks you hit, but for the most part it's bottom left to top right. So can't really say too much about that.
It's amazing. I remember you did that incredible growth hack during the program where I don't know exactly how many customers you jagged in 1 week, but it was like pretty legendary. And I guess that you're a repeat founder as well, which is certainly helpful. I think any founder would agree that that would be helpful. I wish, if I started again now, I think I would do a lot of things better. But we all live and learn and run our journeys. And you got some awesome investors too. I think you have Blackbird and 1013, so some really strong investors as well. So that's pretty cool. Well done, mate.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. So yeah, talking, I guess, a bit about some of the challenges, specifically talking about your equity. I think you've done a pre-seed and a seed, and you've been hiring, so some employee equity in there as well. You maybe want to run us through, a couple of your rounds and some of the challenges that you went through.
Yeah, so I think interestingly enough, even though I've done a business before, the equity stuff was still fairly new, like coming into understanding all the stuff around fundraising and issuing it. And I understood it from a theoretical level, but then actually issuing it and things were foreign to me because I usually had co-founders who did the business side and I was just like the tech dude. And in hindsight, I think I prefer being the tech guy and not getting myself into the equity side of things. So I guess there's a lot of educational stuff. So actually understanding what was happening. Often the lawyers would send me something or they would send me this really complicated cap table and I had no idea what was going on. And so I think that's been a bit tricky. Then figuring out ESOP was also another big challenge for me as well, like understanding what it was, understanding the tax implications, explaining that to my team as well, because then they had to understand it as well. And then figuring out how much to carve out, how much to give them, issuing the agreements to them, getting them to sign it, and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's been the biggest sort of roadblocks, I
That's
guess,
really
growing the
interesting.
thing.
That's really
Yeah.
interesting. So even as a repeat founder, there's just so much to learn, isn't there? And we've been through multiple rounds. Like, I was a CFO in my former life and have a lot of experience with finance. And I still found, looking at a safe and a convertible note for the first time, and then looking at a subscription agreement, a shareholders agreement, I still found those things, really, really challenging. I hope I'm not the only one. I'm sure I'm not. So was there like a safe or a note in the beginning, and have you continued with safes and notes? Do you mind sharing that kind of thing? Have you done like an equity round, or has there been a bit of both? Did you find one or the other maybe more challenging?
Yeah, I'm happy to be specific about it. So we did 2 price rounds, which was lucky. So we didn't have any safe or notes or anything like that, which would muddy the cap table. So they were pretty clean fundraising processes. Like the pre-seed round was just Blackbird and a few angels, and then the seed round was 1013 Blackbird, possible ventures, and then a couple of angels as well. And so that was they were fairly straightforward in terms of the process of like getting that out. It's just that there was so much paperwork happening and there was so many documents flying back and forth, and half the time, honestly, someone would be like, "Where's your constitution?" And then I'd spend 10 minutes digging for my constitution, and I just like didn't know where all my stuff was half the time. So, those have been fairly complicated. I think that it was less so the actual fundraising process. The fundraising process was okay. The first time we actually didn't use Cake, so we did that with the lawyers. And that wasn't actually a big time investment. It was just like a expensive investment, right? Like I just
Yeah.
had to pay for the problem to go away. So it was a lot easier and quicker the second time around when I did it on Cake, right? And that was good because I just had the lawyers work with Cake, and then that sped up the entire process and things were a bit cleaner. We just invite them to the platform, and most investors were cool with that. They come fill in their details. I didn't have to email them and ask them for their address and details and things like that, which would usually be the process, right? So now they just fill out in the Cake platform. So I think that was the biggest difference, actually. Even though they were both price rounds, one was with Cake and one was without, and I could see that there was a pretty big differences between the two. But what I will say is that like the biggest pain for me was less so the fundraising and more the ESOP side. That was just so difficult, and I don't know why it was so difficult. I just like didn't understand it half the time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just found it so easy to just log in, click a couple of buttons, send the email to my employee, they sign it, and then like ESOP is sorted, right? And I think one of the things that I had less on the legal side, more on a moral side, is that I've heard so many stories of employees not getting their ESOP on time, or like they get screwed by the company afterwards. So I made a big sticking point that I wanted my team members to have their ESOP signed then and there, like immediately, so they didn't have to worry about it. And so I just wanted to get everything sorted. And so it's very nice when I onboard someone, log in, send them a link, and it's sorted very quickly. So that's what I liked about it.
I really love that. There's so many handshake deals, and you do need to save money in the beginning as a startup. First of all, I want to actually just go back one step, like pre-seed Blackbird. So cool. I don't know how many times they do that, but like congratulations on that. That's like, I don't know. They do go early, and I'm just so glad to see real life proof of that. It's really impressive, mate. So just wanted to not let that pass without congratulating you. And then on that other piece, I think it's around founders. 9 out of 10 founders, every founder I meet is like a really good person. They want to do something great. They want to do right by their team. They want to share in the success of the team. But they want to build trust as well. And if you have handshake deals and you haven't signed the ESOP, and it doesn't really build trust in the way that you want to be building with those key people. We see it with sweat equity as well. A lot of handshake deals, or you'll get some equity in the future, and then those relationships are really, just not the way you want to do it. So, yeah, I love hearing that
Yeah.
Cake can help enable that. As well, I don't know if you use the existing template, so you can one click have an ESOP, or did you bring your own ESOP templates from your lawyer? Which way did you do it?
So because we issued ESOP before we moved to Cake, we had to bring on our existing documentation. And I thought that would be painful, but actually, I mean, shout out to your customer success team. Like, just hopped on a call, I sent them the document, and it was onboarded, and I didn't have to worry about it either. So it did feel like basically the same as clicking a button and doing it. So I think that was really helpful.
No, I love Shannon and Elon at the moment are the guns doing that, and just they're doing it all day, every day. And when you're not doing it all day, every day, and you're used to working with accountants and lawyers, and look, we love accountants and lawyers; they're a necessary part of the ecosystem because some of this stuff is really complex, but some of it is not. Like some of it is like, look, I just want a really good ESOP. I want to get on with my life. I want my team signed up, and Shannon and the customer success team are really, we're so grateful to them. So yeah, great to hear that. Great to hear that. And so how are you currently using Cake? I guess you're not raising right now, or you could be coming up to a raise. Would you use Cake again to run your raise? Would you use our templates, or would you work with a lawyer? Like how would you see maybe tackling a raise using Cake in the future?
Yeah, so I guess there's two parts. So how I use Cake right now, probably usually just like checking up on things. So whenever someone asks me a question about cap table or something, I just log into Cake and look at that because it's like a lot. It's very pretty. Like I don't know,
And
can't think of a better word for it, but it's just like nice to look at.
what I always found
Um,
was like, you need to look at it like in the evening or on the weekend or whatever. And if you have to ask your accountant or your lawyer, they'll take days to reply, and it might cost you like several $100s, like just to get a simple reply. Like one of the things I love when it first started working, because we were using it before it really worked, and I could go in and like really access stuff and just have it at my fingertips. I really enjoyed that as a founder because you got so much to do and you don't want to wait. Yeah.
Very true. Yeah. And that's mainly the way. And then if I onboard a new team member, then yeah, issuing ESOP
So can you
And
do that
then I guess
yourself?
like,
Would you go in yourself and you're capable of doing that? No worries. Like do an offer and put the exercise price in and everything. Yeah.
yeah, last couple of ESOPs I just issued myself.
Oh, great.
I'm probably going to offload that to a team member too, so makes it even easier for me. In terms of the fundraising, yeah, definitely we'll be using Cake the next fundraising round when we do that. So I just like that everything's streamlined because like it's the communication aspects that's the tricky part, right? Like mostly for the last fundraising round, I think I checked how many emails were back and forth after closing the deal, and it was like 100 or something,
Oh,
and that's
there's
like
so
after
many.
already agreeing.
There's
Yeah,
so many. And you're
which
up
doesn't make
like
any
Sunday
sense to me.
night, you're
So
up at Sunday night, like transposing into your documents, then you make a mistake and then they sign in the wrong place. Then you have to ask them to sign again. Like, oh my God, this is not with Cake, by the way. This is without Cake. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so many emails. Yeah.
So I think that's the big part, like just reducing that communication complexity afterwards. And it does look like our legal partners all use Cake, so it just makes it easier when the ecosystem is cool with it. I think the difficult part is adoption and like making sure everyone's cool with using it. But for the most part, we have not had any issues with someone saying, "Hey, we want to sign manual pieces of paper and send it to you instead of using Cake."
Which
So
you can do. Like
yeah.
some people have got like their really different processes or traditional processes. And some of our investors, like you can't make everybody do things digitally. So you can like, download and sign and then upload them and connect them to the transaction. But like, hopefully for most founders, like not too many investors are busting their chops with that these days. I think most people are getting pretty okay with all this digital equity. So awesome,
Yeah,
man.
for
Well,
sure.
look, what's the big one for you for the next little while? I've been loving watching your progress, and it's all up and to the right. I can see you expanding into different products and internationally, and yeah, what's coming on for the next little while?
So yeah, it has been up and to the right, except like the last few months, which like growth has been a little bit difficult. So I'm just like getting way more into growth, and you can just see when the founder steps away from growth and like what happens, and when the founder gets back into growth. So next few months is just me getting really in the weeds of growth and like leading that team a little bit more.
You must be excited
So I'm
about
pretty
that. I know
confident
you
we can grow
really,
pretty fast.
I know you really like that stuff, so you'd be pumped about getting back in there and getting that going.
Definitely, but I think the last 6 to 9 months, I have not been doing it because I had to do all these other things as CEO, right? And
No,
yeah,
exactly.
the unfortunate reality.
That's partly why we built Cake, so we can take a lot of this stuff away from, CEO and founders and they can focus more on the business. So hopefully we can help you there. Hey mate, one thing I might just try and finish on, I haven't warned you on this one, but like, we're big believers in like, creative, healthy lifestyle. It's a big part of our culture. I mean, anything that you want to share around your culture that sort of helps promote creativity or health and using those things as a driver for your success?
Yeah, I think for us, I try to push a very not failure centric, but like just being okay with failure. Because a lot of people won't take swings because they're worried, right? Whereas like I think I've pushed a very like gung ho, like we don't care if you fail sort of mentality. Like we just want you to take the swing.
Yeah.
And like most mistakes are recoverable, and like there's a difference between irreversible and reversible decisions. And I think most things for our business are reversible. So like take the swing, go for it, and we'll see what happens. And I think people are comfortable enough in our company that they're not going to be worried about getting fired over making a mistake that like we think is an acceptable one. Like there are obviously unacceptable mistakes, but for the most part, we want people
Then you
to
learn, right?
push the
What is and what
boundaries.
isn't, but
Yeah.
you've got that failing, experimenting mindset. I love that. And were you celebrating those experiments or failures in an interesting way at one point? I'm sure I've heard you mention that before.
Yeah, we have tried some other stuff. Like now it's just come down to a Friday retro where we like share our challenges and failures and wins, and
Awesome.
we try to celebrate those as much as possible. We did think about having like a roller coaster channel where like you could put in the highs and lows, and you would just tag it as a high or a low, and we could just see like the graph over time of like up and down, because not everything is going to be an up, right? And so we wanted people to publish the downs as well so we could see the roller coaster and graph it. We didn't end up doing it, but might be a future experiment for my future head of people if we if we
Yeah,
get to that point.
we don't have a people person either. Like there's a lot to do, so I totally understand. Hey
Yeah.
man, look, I'm very grateful. I'm a big fan of what you're doing, and we're going on the journey together. So like, thanks so much for coming on and sharing, and helping people understand a bit more about cake as well. So I really appreciate it, man. And
Anytime.
so I'm gonna cut us off there. Thanks everyone. If you made it to the end, well done, great. Please check us out. We're definitely here to help. And yeah, see you soon.